George Washington, when talking about political parties in his 1796 farewell address, said this: "However, combinations or associations of the above description may now and then answer popular ends, they are likely, in the course of time and things, to become potent engines, by which cunning, ambitious, and unprincipled men will be enabled to subvert the power of the people and to usurp for themselves the reins of government, destroying afterwards the very engines which have lifted them to unjust dominion." Political parties have become the downfall of America. In my last video, I went over how the House of Representatives has been bastardized into a system that's only self-serving and no longer actually stands for the American people, largely due to political parties. This isn't just a problem with Congress, though. It's a problem that plagues our entire political landscape and leads to what I think is the biggest issue with the American system: uninformed voters. Most people only vote along party lines. In a presidential election, you'll have multiple people running in each party, and they'll compete and debate against each other to win the primary election. The party leaders will then go on and move to compete against the other party leaders in the general election for the presidency. This is an inherently flawed system. It has now and then answered popular ends, but it has allowed cunning, ambitious, and unprincipled men to subvert the power of the people and to usurp for themselves the reins of government. When people vote in a presidential election, they're not actually voting for which candidate they like more. They barely know what each candidate says they're going to do. The political parties are just a veil that candidates wear to convince the American people they know what the candidate stands for. Americans are voting for the idea of a person representing that political party. Even though George Washington warned against their divisive nature, political parties have always been a part of the American government. And like many things, on paper, they don't sound all that bad. You've got groups of people who have similar ideas about the way things should be ran, and they compete against each other, and the one who's the best for the job ends up getting the party nomination. But what you actually end up with is two parties that are just fighting against each other, with no other political party really having any chance at all. I'm sure every voting age American watching this video has heard something along the lines of, "A vote for an independent is a vote for blank." So one party could potentially have several competent, smart, capable leaders competing against each other, while the other had no one worth a damn. And because the system is set up the way it is, you're going to end up voting for either a person who's competent or a person who's not. And since people don't actually vote for the candidate they think will do a better job, it's a coin flip on who's going to win the election. Now, if we didn't have any uninformed voters, then this system would work perfectly fine. People would just vote for the most competent, capable person, and they would move on. If there were no capable leaders competing in the main two parties, then one of the other parties would get a chance that never gets to see the light of day. But uninformed voters are a tricky thing. The vast majority of politicians really suck, and they don't have your best interests in mind. They rely on uninformed voters to win and to get to the positions of power that they're in. And because there's so much money trading hands between the news outlets and the big companies and the politicians, they all have massive incentives to keep this system the way it is and keep voters uninformed. They all work together to demonize one person or the other and make all of us fight against each other. So we don't actually see that they're all the enemy, that they are all the problem, and that we could do something about it. If we held news stations accountable for lying and misrepresenting political candidates, that would go a long way in getting rid of misinformed voting, which we also need to do. But talking about the media and the news outlets, that's all a topic for a different day. The only thing I can think of to keep political parties and do away with uninformed and misinformed voting would be to have a nonpartisan individual working at the polling booths and quizzing the voters on why they're voting. And this is a bad idea. While I can see an argument for a really basic question to just make sure that the person is competent and capable and fully understanding why they're voting, the level of questioning we would need to also keep everything else the way it is would do away with any anonymity, and it could ultimately be used for voter suppression, which is worse than uninformed voting. Ultimately, getting rid of political parties altogether is the idea that makes the most sense. If candidates had to run on the merit of their opinions on policy instead of the perception of the party they're running under, it would go a long way in getting rid of uninformed voting. You'd have to know something to even vote for one of the candidates. I've heard before that we need a ranked or preferential voting system, and while I like that train of thought, I don't think that it would fix all the problems we have without also getting rid of political parties. Obviously, no one thing we could do would fix all of our problems, but getting rid of the parties would do a lot more than just switching to a ranked system. If you don't know what a ranked voting system is, basically you just number the candidates that you like the most. So let's say you take your top 5. Your number 1 would get 5 points, your number 5 would get 1 point, and then at the end, all of the votes are counted, all the points are tallied up, and the candidate with the most points wins. That way you can vote for multiple people and not feel like you have to vote for someone you don't really like as much because there's no way your favorite candidate will win. I think the best way to do it would be to get rid of political parties, obviously, but replace the way we do the primary elections with a ranked preferential vote. You take all the candidates who are running up until that point and you pit them against each other. Then each American would pick their top 5. All the votes would be counted and the top 2 would move on to the general election. This would keep a lot of consistency with the way we currently do the voting in this country. And it would fucking help like a lot, and shit would just be better. Trust me, bro. This would keep a lot of consistency with the current way we handle elections. Nobody would feel like they're throwing away their vote, and we'd be a lot more likely to end up with 2 candidates who are actually competent in the finals. I really like the idea of a ranked voting system on top of some of the way we already do things, just because I think it would just go that much further in really making everyone feel like their vote matters and really making everyone's vote matter. Right now, if you vote independent, your vote doesn't matter. Like, that's how it is. Just it doesn't. So I do think that that would help a lot. In my last video, a solution kind of seemed attainable. All we would need is for word to get out and get regular folk running for Congress and making changes in the government. And although it is a tall order and it's far-fetched and it's unlikely, it seems a lot more attainable than something big like this. Because an idea like this relies on basically regular folk getting into Congress, which already seemed attainable, but it is far-fetched. This is just a step on top of that. Getting everybody to agree after we get regular people in Congress. You know, some people like the party system because then they at least have some idea of the way the people think. I mean, like I said, it definitely does make people more likely to be uninformed voters, and it does definitely promote uninformed voting, but I can see how some people would like it, especially if those people are corrupt politicians trying to keep their position of power and make a bunch of money. If by some miracle we actually do end up with people who really want to make a difference and who aren't in it for the money and don't align with one party or the other in Congress, then I could see it all coming together in a way that's really good for America. It just seems out there. We've got a lot of big issues that need to be addressed, whether it's, you know, with new laws or just socially or whatever, but none of it really matters if we don't fix the foundation of our system that's broken. And maybe it's just like hopium, and it's odd coming from me because everyone seems to think I'm a nihilist, but I do kind of feel like we're not totally lost yet. I feel like we could get there. It would take a lot, and I think it's unlikely, but I don't think it's impossible. But hey, if you like this video, let me know. Let me know what you thought. If you didn't like it, let me know what you thought. I've got more videos coming. Yeah, I mean, that's really about it. Just drop a comment, leave a like if you want to, subscribe if you feel like it. And either way, whether you like this video or not, if you made it this far, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.